cause it's a ride. 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 Cause it's a ride.
Everybody back to another episode of the Grants and Contract Podcast. It's so good to see all of you here. Now, for those of you who are joining us live, welcome back. Some of you are new for the first time, and it's good to see you here as well. This podcast here is being recorded. For some of you who are on some of our social channels, you'll get a chance to watch the replay there as well. But I love our live people because this is where you actually get a chance to really interact with us, as well as ask questions to our guests and some of the topics that we're talking about today. So today's episode is really awesome, very cool because I get to introduce all of you to someone I met a few years ago at in Austin, Texas, at a conference. And so, if you are joining us for the first time, or if you're a returning audience member, if you could put your name and your location and your business into the chat area, whether you're a nonprofit, for profit, put that into the chat area so we kind of just have an idea of who our audience are with us today. With that said, I want to introduce our guests for today. And today we're going to be talking about our guest who's been a serial entrepreneur, started multiple companies. And our topic for the day, we're going to be talking about disrupting big tech and democratizing funding opportunities for organizations out there. And so with that, I want to introduce everybody to Sedale Tabaski. He and I originally met at both our organizations were part of the AWS GovTech startup. And about two and a half years ago, we met in Austin, got a chance to hang out with the AWS team and all of the new startups that's in the ecosystem, supporting organizations related to the government contracting, the federal space, the local space, and the nonprofit world. So we got a chance to meet there. We kind of stay in touch here and there over the years. But when Lainey and I said, you know what, we need to have a guest that really can open doors for related to grants. So I thought of Sedale and I said, hey, let's talk to Sedale and let's bring him on. So with that said, I want to introduce Sedale Tabaski to all of you here. Sedale, you want to say a few words before we get started to everybody?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Super excited to be here. And yeah, I mean, you already said most of it, but I'll just add that I think, one of the things that is really compelling about grant funding, and in particular, the thing that drew me here is that, these grant opportunities are so much more than money. They're opportunities to onboard partners and people who can help you really advance whatever it is whatever the cause is that you're out there, or the impact you're out there trying to create. And so I just think there's so much opportunity to harness not only the funding, but the relationships. And so I do talk a lot about that, and yeah, just stoked to chat and hopefully maybe share some insights and yeah, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you here. Now, before we dive into OpenGrants.io, which is you're the CEO of OpenGrants.io, and for all of you joining us, Sedale have graciously said that we're gonna do a giveaway to one of you. If you stay to the end, we're gonna do a giveaway so that you can have free access for a whole year on OpenGrants. So stick with us to the end. We're gonna do a drawing to you who are live audience and to get this here. And we have another giveaway as well. So stay to the end to find out what that giveaway is. We always like to do giveaways because it's fun. We love helping people giving things away. So with that, Sedale, you have been a lifelong entrepreneur. You started multiple things. You've been a world traveler. Some of our audiences here, they can relate to you, right? Because people who like to start things, people who like to go out there and just create things. Why don't you share a little bit background before we get to the open grant side of things? Why don't you give a little history of who you are, where you started, and the different organizations that you've been part of, and how you got to Open Grants?
Sure, yeah, happy to share. I started my kind of professional career by dropping out of school and becoming a river guide. School was not not a place that I saw a ton of value in personally. So I ended up traveling the world, leading rafting and kayaking trips all over, and really enjoyed that. And then connected with some friends who were like, "Hey, we could start a business by making websites for these tourism companies that all have terrible websites for whatever reason." And they're like, "Okay." So we started there, and from there it just sort of blossomed. One thing led to another, and all of a sudden we had this full stack kind of digital consulting agency where we would build websites and we would help people understand business processes, and we would build business intelligence tools for all these companies. And that was really fun. And as we were thinking through things, we're like, oh, we could probably make a lot more money by building software instead of doing all these services for people. And one thing led to another. We sold that first company, and then since then, been super lucky. With that same team, we went on to build a company called Carbon Blue that we sold, and then we went on to work on a couple other companies, and through that, we brought on some partners, and I connected with some partners, including the exceptional folks at the Grant Farm, now known as Momentum. And they actually funded one of my first companies, and they were really key to helping initially fund and spin out OpenGrants from that ecosystem as well. So all of this, it's like 20 years of different adventures and journeys here. So 4-5 companies, and 15 plus years later, here we are. But I've learned a ton about entrepreneurship and people, but also spending a good amount of time kind of trying to align my life with the outcomes and things I wanted to be doing. So the thing that started it all was really, I was on a light rail, watching all these people go to work in Sacramento, all these lifelong bureaucrats and civil servants, and I was just, I was wondering about all these people who are sitting there talking about how they couldn't wait to retire, and I was just like, these guys don't seem happy. And I know some of them are, like, this is a very broad generalization, but I was like, I don't want that for my life. I'd like to be working on things that excite me all the time. And I've been super fortunate in being able to do that. So, really excited to chat about that, trying to bring some of that work-life balance to the equation for people.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because I think for some of our people that have come on a little bit late, so they haven't heard the beginning intro, is that you created this software for finding grants, but I think that people can learn so much of that work-life balance, because I think a lot of people, they get into the contracting world or something like that because they're searching for something more. They want something more than just the 9 to 5, the sitting at the desk. They want to be their own boss, and they want to, like you're saying, create something or be able to get a contract. So when I first got to sit down and talk with you, the one thing that stood out to me, and something that I kind of want you just to touch on a little bit, is this idea of accessibility to funding. So I know in the nonprofit world, if you've spent any time, it's, okay, people say there's all this funding out there. How do you get it? And why can't I get it? Or why am I losing? So can you kind of touch on that a little bit? I know that that's something you're passionate about, of making funding accessible, and kind of how, I guess that can lead into, what is Open Grants? How do Open Grants make it accessible?
Sure thing. Yeah. I mean, there's 2 really big pieces to the puzzle. One is obviously just kind of an awareness that the funding is available. And, bless their hearts, but the government does its best. Obviously, they have their own limitations. There's a lot of challenges in terms of the tools that they're allowed to work with and what they can do and they can't do. But they really do their best. They put it out there. Foundations and philanthropy are under no such obligation, right? So the government actually has to publish things, and they try to, and they want to. But I regularly talk with foundations where, like, we don't want people to know that we have money or that even we exist sometimes. And that can be really challenging in terms of if you are, creating impact in the world, you're looking for funding, and you're trying to find that, funding opportunity. So one of the things that we stress above and beyond, we built this platform to help people find all these foundations and build connection. But the connection bit is really important part, right? So this is still very much a relationship driven space. And, through my own work and my network, I've been super lucky to build relationships with a lot of these people and some really incredible teams. But if you don't have those, it can be really hard to break in. And so that's a big part of what we wanted to build at OpenGrants, and what we built is an exceptional network of curated people, so that if you really do want to go fundraise from like the Ford Foundation or Open Societies or just any old, any group that's out there, maybe even your local community foundation, if you don't have that connection to those individuals, we try to deliver it. In many cases we can. In some cases we might have to work with you and like try to figure something out. But in lots of cases, over the last 5 years, we've been able to build a really great network. And so that's a big unlock that we're able to deliver. And, I tell people all the time, yeah, you can like cold drop effectively, your application to the foundation, and maybe you'll get funded and maybe you won't. But often when you're out there and you're like, why does everyone seem to be getting money and not me? That's probably why. If you haven't done any of the networking or relationship development, that's probably why you're not having success with that kind of fundraising. So yeah, that's 100%. That's a big part of it, is just build those relationships.
Yeah, relationship is so key to success in life, right? And I always encourage people that you're not, yes, you have a nonprofit, you're on a mission, but you're a mission-driven organization. But before that, you are a people organization. You are in the business of building relationship and connecting people to each other. So if you're trying to help a homeless community, you're in the relationship connecting to those who have needs and then connecting to those who have resources. So it doesn't matter, even in the government contracting marketplace, right? If you're trying to win a contract, you need to build a relationship with a contract officer. If you're going after grants, and you need a relationship with a foundation, a director, or a trustee, or somebody that have access to different resources that you need, it really does come down to relationship, in life. And so, but another important thing around success is one of the biggest changes that's happened in the world is AI. Using AI to streamline processes, using AI to make the grant process easier, using AI to make the proposal writing process easier. How do you see AI playing to make things smarter, faster in the grant world, or in the world that you operate in?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things. One, we were one of the first companies to apply AI to this space. And then all of a sudden, like generative AI came around the corner. We're like, oh my goodness, this is better than anything we built. Let's use that. And so when you talk about what we've seen is AI is an exceptional tool to streamline your workflows, to remind you to talk to people. Right? It can do so many things, and I think the big takeaway, at least what I'm seeing, is that it's an opportunity to allow us to focus on the things that are really important and like the stuff that we're uniquely going to be doing, right? Like, in human beings, we're not meant to write an 80-page grant proposal. Like, that's a silly activity for a human to have to do. And when you really think about it, grant proposals, and I just bring that up because that's what we talk about a lot. That's just a really slow way of communicating something, right? Ideally, you could just like telepathically, zap your idea over to somebody else and they'd like be able to understand it, and ta-da. And so AI helps us streamline all of that, right? Like the minutiae, all the other stuff. Like the actual deliverable often is, a coalition of people who are creating some kind of impact in the world. And for the time being, AI is not doing that, right? Like, there's all kinds of fun robots that are starting to come online. So maybe eventually, but right now, the best thing, one of the awesome things that AI can do is just streamline a lot of your communication and operations processes, right? So it can manage tasks, it can manage meetings, it can help you understand complex documents more efficiently and then generate responses to those documents. We definitely, we see a lot of really incredible teams writing grant proposals in a tenth of the time. What used to take 2 weeks is taking a day, and that's awesome because at the end of the day, it's not about the proposal itself, it's the content and it's the activities that are going to be funded and the other work that's going on. And so AI as the best assistant you've ever had is what I see currently as the opportunity. It's this is the best junior associate fundraiser, et cetera, that you could ever get. But I think the other thing that it's creating is a renewed dependence on people and community, because the byproduct of this is also that who knows if any of it is real, right? The only way I know that it's really real is if I sit down and talk with you. I don't even know if this could be Hey Jen. I could just be an avatar. I'm not, I promise. But this could not be me, and no one would be able to tell. It's real good out there, the AI. So I'm really excited about the opportunity and the kind of refocusing of building community and talking to people. And that to me is really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I see it's kind of come full circle since COVID. I feel like everybody went very online, didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want to have face-to-face, but I feel like we're completing that circle of coming back to wanting in-person things, wanting to meet in person, and I think that's a good thing. As somebody who likes in-person events, some people think it's a bad thing, but I like the community aspect. So I wanted to ask you your opinion on this. You talk to a lot of foundations, you have a lot of relationships. Have you heard, so this is something that we constantly hear in the grant writing world, and when we hear this, I'm kind of like, is there data to back this up, or did somebody make this up and they're kind of spreading this information? But how do foundations react to, using AI for grant writing? Or have you heard that they're I don't like it, or they're kind of under the influence of it's the same data transfer that we have, it's helping everybody to be faster? Kind of what is their opinions on it, or have you heard any opinions?
I've heard lots of opinions. I think that the smart folks are saying, hey, this is a great tool and you can use it to respond more efficiently. The other thing that I'm excited to see is that there's groups that are working on integrating this into their processes to make it more efficient to even apply in the first place. And I do think that there's a change coming where we won't send applications anymore. You'll just be able to submit data and it'll get processed, right? Because when you take away all the other parts of the pieces of the puzzle, if AI is writing the applications and they're using AI to process the applications, you might as well remove whatever PDFs and just have some kind of data transfer. And that's the future that we see at OpenGrants. But anyways, I think that, there's, people are always a little bit reluctant to accept new technologies. I think there's also a lack of understanding about how sophisticated some of these tools can be. So we'll see people who are no AI responses, we're going to catch them. And I'm no, you can't. You think you can. And if people are bad at using the tool, then definitely you can. But if you're good at it, then you're never going to know. So yeah, I think regardless of how people feel, it's definitely here. And it's a really impactful technology.
Yeah, and I think it's that exactly what you said of if they're good at using it, and it's also a tool. So it's not meant, we're not saying get on AI and say, write me this grant application, and then you submit it, and there's nothing else. There's no other steps that are taken. It is a tool to aid you in your processes. And in some of my grant classes that I have coming up, I'm teaching on that, how AI can aid you, but AI should not completely write for you. It should not be the end all be all. It doesn't take away your job. It just is a tool that aids you.
Yeah, I saw in the contracting world, I saw some contracting officer react very badly because some proposals were submitted, and 4 or 5 of the proposals look the same. And so they looked at it, they ran through a AI checker, and they said, all these are AI generated proposal. And so there was actually an article that was put out in terms of how the contract officer really despised how AI is being used, the early stages of AI, right? So if you don't use it right, and you just like, okay, write this proposal for me, and it's going to spit out junk. Really, it's not going to really address the needs of the agency. You have to prompt it properly, and you have to do it in stages, and you have to do it in micro sections. But if you just throw something in there and expect AI to write your proposal, whether it's a grant proposal or a contract proposal, you're going to get some really negative feedback from the reviewers. So yeah, it's a tool. It's not meant to replace you as the writer in that regard. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, or if you're coming in a little bit late, we have with us Sedale. He is the founder of OpenGrants. And in a second here, he's going to show us, he's going to do a quick demo of how OpenGrants work. And so, Sedale, I don't know if you're prepared to do a demo in a little bit here, but we're going to have you share your screen if you're able to do that, to kind of give people a little bit deep dive into OpenGrants.io. We'll put the link into the chat if you want to go and test it out. And just a quick reminder, at the end of our show here, we're going to do a giveaway. So we're going to do a giveaway. One of you very lucky audience member here is going to get a free account to OpenGrants for a whole year. So Sedale, thank you for doing that there. And then we have another surprise giveaway for all of you. We're revealing something new for all of you, as well as what we're doing here at the GCA as well. So with that, Lainey, you have another question for Sedale before we go into the demo?
Yeah, I think maybe if we just want to go into the demo and start questions there, I would like you to go through just like searching for a grant, the very easiness of it, of you're able to put in some words and does it. I know a lot of people probably on here have used FDO or Candid, and we know that it can be a little hard. It does show a lot of information, but it can be hard to find stuff. So I would love for you to kind of show the easiness of OpenGrants.
Sure, yeah. And one thing, well, I'll do two things. One is, we even have, we have a really great kind of like demo of our tool. Here, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let me show a couple things. So hopefully you can see this. There's a thing that says get started with a free grant funding report. Before you ever create a account on OpenGrants, you can test out just like a really basic thing, which is we have some really cool grant matching software. And if you give us your name and your email and your company website, our agent, our AI, will go scrape your website. It'll create a fundraising pitch, and then it will use that fundraising pitch to find relevant grants. And then it will email you that stuff. I will say, if you don't have a website, or if there's not a lot of info on it, the matches might not be so good. But I just wanted to throw that out for everyone as like a quick test that you can do. You could do it right now while we're chatting. And by the time this podcast is over, you'll have an email with some information on grant funding. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That's at opengrants.io. It's right at the top. It's the first thing you see when you land on our site. And it's just an example of, the first step in the process, which is we try to make it dead easy to figure out what kind of funding you might be eligible for.
We do have a question right quick.
Yeah.
And the question is, are we allowed to enter specific data, or does the AI find the data on its own? I think this was a question asked before we learned about this. So it's more on the idea of finding grants.
Right. So it's a great question, right? And what I wanted to say is, like, for example, with this tool that you have on the website, what the tool will do is it'll scrape your website, and it'll do that to find the data about like what you're up to. And then it will go find grants for you. Again, if you don't have great data on your website, this might not work exceptionally well, but it's just supposed to be a demo. And then obviously you can just chat with the AI, and it will, you can refine things and continue that conversation. So I did want to show this. And to your, perhaps this individual's question is more about when you're creating your account on OpenGrants, which I'll show you right now. Let me see. I might have to stop sharing and then share again. So I'll come back here.
And what Sedale is doing that there, if you have any questions related to OpenGrants or anything about Sedale that he can be able to answer, just put in the chat area. Or if you have questions about any other areas, just put in the chat, and we'll do our best to address some of the questions that you have.
Yeah. So when you sign up on the platform, it's going to take you through a process to create a profile for your company. So what I've done here is I've just created a dummy. This is actually a real event. And if you are in Northern California, you're welcome to come. Anyways, but this is an event. And I was like, I wonder if they have any grants that are available for this event. So I created a profile for this company. And you'll see that there's like some missing info here. Now that is because this is a new org. They haven't ever gotten any past grants, but they could have uploaded them. And there's, I haven't put in any pitch deck or product info, but when you create your profile on the platform, and I'll just click update here and you can see what's available. So when you create your profile on the platform, you'll have the opportunity to upload information, like if you've gotten grant funding in the past. You can upload a pitch deck or just a brochure, like whatever info you have about your organization. And then you can also upload product info. So say you are doing something specific or providing a specific product or service, you could upload that. So when it says, there was a question about, will the data get scraped or how do you get the data in? This is how. So you create that profile, and then that's what powers the engine to match you to grants and connect you with funding. I did just create this profile, so there's probably not any initial reports here, but you will get, it sometimes takes it about an hour to do like the full rundown. And I didn't give it a ton of data yet either. So here in the review deliverables space on your dashboard, this is where you'll get like a grant funding report. And you can also, anytime you can create a request to like connect with a funder, you can connect with an expert. So we'll match you to technical assistance experts, other folks like that. You could do just like general funder research if you want to like learn more about a certain foundation or community foundation. There's grant research that you can request and grant writing support you can request. And all of these services are included in the subscription to OpenGrants. So once you submit it, it can take anywhere from a couple hours to about a day to start working on that request. And you'll be off to the races. So that's kind of how the dashboard works. And then I wanted to point out a couple other features, and then I'll go to the Grant Explorer. So the other option or opportunity that I think is really exciting is we partnered with a company called Modern Zen, and they do a bunch of really cool stuff. But you can book office hours anytime. These are like 15-minute sessions where we can just help you get clarity on specifics about your opportunity, specifics about the platform. If you have something, we also have like, if it's just like, oh, I need, to collect my invoice or whatever. We have a great support team. So you can chat with them anytime. And then before we go to the Explore Grants, I just do want to show, so there's there's your own profile, billing and account management. You can cancel anytime. It's super easy. You can download invoices too. So say you get this as a service for your nonprofit or for your business, and you want to like collect those invoices for taxes or whatever reason, you can do all of that there. And then I'll just show you Explore Grants. So what we do, and you'll notice that we don't have any filters or anything, because we don't really believe, like, even if you're a for-profit company, you can use a fiscal sponsor to access nonprofit designated dollars. There's also plenty of money for for-profit companies in grant funding. So there's not a ton of filters. What we focus on is delivering you information. So say, you've got your grant report, you're excited, but you want to like look up something very specific. You can come in here and just search for SBIR, for example. You could search for California EV. Oh, if I learned how to spell, that would be helpful. Charging. And you can hunt down, so maybe there's not any California specific one, but there might be other specific grants. There's one in Michigan. You can look through it, and you can look at the overview, and then if you click on the Open Original button, it'll open it wherever it is online. And this data set obviously always in flux because there's always new grants. We update it daily. So there's always new information out there. So if you come in here and you don't find something one day, it may be there the next day. Based on your company profile, we will send you updates about specific things. So say you had a company profile and it was like, EV charging was interesting to you, then you'll get updates when there's new opportunities that are relevant to your company profile. So that's the platform in a nutshell. The other thing we do is we do provide a search of just funders, and you can filter through. We have Canadian community foundations, corporate, federal, local government, philanthropy, and state-focused funders. And this is just, a combination of all of the data that's out there. So we have the 990 data set, that's nonprofit foundations, and we have a bunch of other stuff. So anyways, I want to keep it short, but that's a quick demo rundown of like what you can do in the platform. And I want to point out one last thing real quickly, which is this. You'll see here there's a note, writer at opengrants.io. That is our automated agentic platform that supports all of this. So anytime you can reach out to writer at OpenGrants, and if you have a plan with us, it can help you do a variety of things, including, build out your fundraising proposal. It can help you build budgets and all that fun stuff. So that is the platform in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. This is so cool. And I'm really excited for everybody that's joining in are going to be watching back to kind of see this new resource and use it to the best of their ability. Because I think sometimes one of the biggest complaints, first off, everybody hates grant writing. So that's a big complaint that like nobody wants to do it. But a second one is, where do I find funding? If you don't have Candid, where do I go to you can't just Google search this stuff. Like you said, a lot of it's hidden. How do I find it? So I think this is such a cool thing. And the report, I didn't know about the report. So I'm excited to do that when I get off this call and see what information I get from that.
Yeah, no, it's a great little free, obviously the idea is we give you enough info that hopefully gets you off and running. And then if you need us, we're there as a resource. So.
Yeah, you've been on you've done a lot of different things in life. For some of the organizations here, what are some trends that you've seen that you can share with our audience here? Like maybe trends in the grant world or trends in just entrepreneurship or for nonprofits. You've seen a lot of different things. You've worked with a lot of different organizations. You're in touch with the pulse of the industry a little bit. What are some things and some insights you can share for our audience?
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting conversations that's happening across the space is how do we there's a recognition, at least by a lot of serious funders, that the application process itself is terrible and that it should be improved. And that goes, there's a whole, simpler grants. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a whole federal federal move to make grants.gov much more user-friendly and just a better experience. And so, there are so many opportunities to participate in those discussions. There are hackathons, there's information gathering. And so that's one trend that I'm very excited about. It's just a move towards really making this a better process, making it more accessible, removing these barriers to access. So that's very exciting. I think the other big trend that we're going to see is hopefully just more speed in terms of like deploying these programs. So people are aware that like not only is there a barrier to access, but like the capital is not going out. There's a bunch of money just sitting on the sidelines. And so one of the popular topics that's been a very buzzy one is DAFs, right? Donor advised funds. And just like all the philanthropic capital that just doesn't seem to get deployed, right? It's sitting there in these funds, but it's not getting on the ground, creating impact. And so hoping to see more, not only activation, but speed of activation is very exciting. Those are the two big ones. I think that, if you have time and opportunity to participate and like be part of the discussions, I highly encourage it. I think that that's one of the things that's like huge, is just like be part of the process in the community. Don't just like hit them up for money. Like show up and say, hey, we want to solve problems with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition, is trying to, everybody that's in this nonprofit world, we have the opportunity, whether you're a grant writer, you're a software developer, an ED, whatever that is, to be more involved in how this operates. Because if we're not having these conversations, we are not going to see any change in operation. And I think that's what we've seen for so many years. I've talked to some of these people, they've been EDs or they've just been in this world for 10, 20 years, and it's the same. Some of the processes that I walk into are pen and paper, like not using technology, very like old school way of doing stuff. So let's get up to speed in the nonprofit world. We're for-profit world, we're up to speed. Let's get up to speed in the nonprofit world. We do have a few questions. So one of the questions is, if you have a OpenGrants account, are you able to have like 2 different businesses on the account, or do you have to have a new account for each business? Like, for example, if somebody had a for-profit and a nonprofit.
Yeah, you're going to want to have one for each, just because it operates off of the profile of the business in terms of giving you updates and so forth. Again, if they were like super similar companies or whatever, then maybe it's an issue, right? Like if they'd both be interested in the same kind of funding, then probably that'd be fine. But that's a feature that we may build in the future. But right now it is kind of like the way it works is using the information you upload to generate, intelligence and matches and suggestions. So.
Yeah, and then our other question is, and I know you touched on this in the very beginning, but where is it pulling the information from? And then also, is it casting a net on the total World Wide Web? And is there, sorry, this is a loaded question, and is there opportunities for international grants? Like, is it pulling for international grants?
Yeah, great question. I think so. We pull from all kinds of different data sources, the ones you'd expect, right? Like grants.gov and any like state funding portals as well. We also pull from all kinds of data that's scraped. And then we even have human beings who bring us data. And we also have direct relationships with state governments and other groups who put grants on the platform. So it is a fairly comprehensive set of information. We do have international grants as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of great data on the platform itself from a whole community of contributors. And in fact, like we fractionalized our equity. So people who contribute data to our platform actually own parts of our company. Like we really wanted to build a community-driven ecosystem here at OpenGrants. So that's what we did.
That's really cool. So kind of going back after we asked a couple questions of getting into the space of talking with other people, trying to solve the problems that we see. Is there specific maybe conferences that you would tell people to attend, certain platforms? Like how can you get involved with the conversation? Or how have you seen the best way to get involved?
Yeah, there's definitely some orgs that you can get involved with. Of course, like, being on the mailing list of like simplergrants.gov. That's like the federal effort in the United States to improve grants.gov. That's a great place to start, contribute there. There's, I forget the name of the other org, but like, you can get involved with your local community foundation. There's definitely conversations to be had there. You can get involved with groups like Fix the Form, which I think, was a thing that was happening a while ago. I'm not sure if they're actually still active, but yeah, there's a lot of different disparate activities, I'd say the best way to get involved is like figure out who your stakeholder group is and help them understand, I would start there with like, focus on those relationships that you have and the stakeholders that are of interest to you. There's not a need to run out and try to find other people necessarily. But yeah, participate.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, Abe, do you have any follow-up questions regarding that?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I know you've done a lot of different things in life, and OpenGrants is one of the ways of how you want to give to the world. What's beyond OpenGrants for you? Because as a serial entrepreneur, sometimes OpenGrants may be your endpoint, or what are some other things beyond OpenGrants that you envision for yourself, or what else does Sedale want to accomplish before you say, hey, you know what? You're not the guy on the Sacramento train looking to retire and call that the day. But so what's out there for you?
I am particularly interested in and currently working on a variety of things in this space about the future of work and how we take care of society as kind of work goes away or our relationship to work transforms in a really interesting way. I've started writing quite a lot about that, about universal basic income, fractionalized equity. It's one of the things we implemented with OpenGrants, and I do think it's a bit of the future, like the vision of humanity and society owning little bits of money-making machines that go out and kind of influence the global economy in an autonomous way. Is something that's really captured my attention. So that's, that I don't know when exactly I'll be pulling the lever on that, but certainly it's something that I'm very focused on and I've started to write quite a lot about and study quite a bit more, just how AI itself is transforming our relationship to work and what it looks like for humanity to like associate with that and navigate it.
Yeah, you mentioned that you fractionalized OpenGrants.io. Can you kind of share a little bit more detail about that? And I love your concept of, universal income, and because society, right? Because we live in a world where you have mega billionaires, and then you have people who have very little access to any resources, whether it's monetary resources or product resources or natural resources. But share that process a little bit. How did you go about fractionalizing your own organization so that people can have access to a tool that they can say, I'm part of this here?
Yeah, so we did two things. One is we worked with our attorneys and we took 20%, or no, took a little bit less, but we took a percentage of our cap table and we allocated it to a pool that was then fractionalized. And I don't pretend to know how exactly our attorneys pulled it off, but they sorted it out. And what we told them is like, we want to be able to award, ownership of the company to people who contribute data to the company or contribute to the company in a compelling way. And so we had just watched, like, this was like on the heels of Lyft and Uber having their whole lawsuit in California about like the employees were suing the gig company. And so what we were thinking is like, look, there's no reason to keep all of this anyways. Our profit margins are quite high. And if you are contributing to something like this, you should own some of it. And so hopefully when there's some kind of exit, you'll make a good amount of money. Then we thought, like, how can we make this even like a little less illiquid? Like, how can we give folks some optionality so that if they need this in 3 years or something, they can use it instead of waiting to, hopefully we sell or IPO or something cool. And so that's where how we came to like this token. We used a company called Fairment that like had actually built the infrastructure to do this. So between Fairment and our attorneys, we built out an offering that allowed people to not only get, grant token, but also be able to then sell that after a couple years of holding it. So I think that is an example of how the future might look. Because when you think about it, there's this narrative of like the next $1 billion company being 3 people in AI. I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think it's really possible. And I think as we start to see, like you were saying, the real concentration of wealth around like corporations that are just AI, really, we're going to need to have a conversation about how that trickles down and works for the rest of humanity. Also, given the fact that like a lot of this AI is trained on our, on all of the data that we've all like pushed out into the internet over the last decades, it makes sense that humanity would benefit from it somehow. So.
Yeah. So, I think that's so interesting. I don't necessarily understand it all, but I'm like so intrigued of AI. I remember the first time I ever heard about AI, Abe was actually the one that told me. And it was in our CCM class, and he was like, this was a couple years ago, and he was like, this new thing just dropped. I've got to show y'all. And he showed us it, and I'm like mind blown. I'm like, this is about to change my life. And, everybody else is kind of having the discourse of, oh, I'm scared what AI can do. And I'm like, no, AI is about to literally change my life. And so I started using it from the day he told me. I used it, just getting to familiarize myself with it and learning about it. And now, I mean, it is one of my favorite tools. And I think it's so interesting, everything that it can do. And that's when I would tell people about it, like I went and told my parents about it, and they're like, what? And I'm like, you can't even understand. You can't fathom what it can do. And like, they think I'm like crazy talking about it because they had never heard about it before. But Sedale, so you've done a lot of startups. You've been in this space, you've built some really cool businesses. What would be your biggest advice to, the listeners of they're building a business, or maybe they're just now getting in the nonprofit world, they're wanting to build a nonprofit? Like, what would be your biggest advice to those types of people?
Man, I don't know if it's I think that it is to choose something that you're passionate about. Like, don't just go build it because you want to make money. I mean, if you need to make money, just go get a job, right? Like go do any job. But if you're going to build something yourself, make sure you're stoked on it, because there's a lot of opportunity. Like I tell my friends all the time, in particular founders, are like, look, the differentiator is just like the staying power. It's not like, the only way your business is going to stop is because you decide to give up. Right? Like that's the most normal, like that's what happens is people give up. And they can give up for good reasons. They can throw in the towel for a bunch of reasons, but you work on something that you're stoked on, because then you're going to like have that opportunity and that drive to get up and do it every day, because it's a grind. Like it's not always the most fun. Like in the macro, I'm always stoked on it, but like on a day-to-day basis, some days I'm like, this is stupid. So definitely pick something that you're stoked on, because otherwise it's just not worth it. Like if you need money, just go get a job. Like, because I get that, like we all need money, and that's what makes the world go around. So you need to earn money to like feed people and take care of things. But if you want to build your own business, make it something that you're really excited about.
Yeah, I love that's something Abe teaches a lot too in the contract world, is the only way you're going to fail is if you stop. So a lot of people, they want to say like, when can I get a contract? Well, you're going to get a contract eventually if you put in the work, do what needs to be done, create the path for the contract. It's not an if, it's a when you get that contract. And so I think that's a really good advice. We have some questions that came in. So when you were talking about the ownership of data and that kind of stuff, somebody asked, is the opportunity to contribute data for ownership still available?
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, our grant token is still there. People earn it. Yeah. Simply reach out to, you can just email me actually, and tell me what you're interested in contributing, and happy to give you more info. We had a system set up that was a little more automated, and frankly, it just wasn't it just didn't work the right way. So we do those. You can reach out, Sedale at OpenGrants.io, and happy to chat about that.
Perfect. I think it's getting to the time of our giveaway. So what we kind of do it a different way. I think what we'll do is I'll let Sedale think of a number between 1 and 500. If you want to write it down, if you don't, it doesn't matter, but think of a number, and then everybody will actually start putting their number in the chat. And this is for a free membership to OpenGrants. So if everybody wants to start with their number, and Sedale, if you can see the chat, if you kind of want to start looking once you have your number in your head, as they start coming on, if somebody does pick your number. But we're going to leave this open for about a minute, let everybody put their number in, and then we will pick our winner.
The closest number to whatever number Sedale has in his head.
Yes.
I'll just put my number in the private chat. That'll go to y'all, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfect. I see your number.
Okay, last call. If you want to get a free 1-year subscription to OpenGrants.io, a very valuable tool to help you in your journey in the nonprofit world and in the for-profit world, go ahead and put in your number, and we're going to choose a winner. Lainey's going to choose a winner in a second.
Okay. Counting down. All right, I'm cutting it off. So if there's a chat that's coming in, I'll let it come in, but I'm cutting it off. No more chats. I think we have a winner. So Sedale's number, he sent it to me in the private chat, was 7, and Scott Brown got number 9. So that was the closest. Congratulations.
So Scott, what you want to do is send us your, my producer's going to put our email in the chat. So send us an email, and then we will give you instructions on how you can get your access to OpenGrants.io. And for all of you who participated, hung out with us, I know it's disappointing. You were not the winner, but we have another giveaway. And so this giveaway, everybody can participate. Or if you did not get you weren't the winner, you can still set up your account. There is a trial period on OpenGrants. You can go and use it, get started on it. And then if it's valuable to you, it's very affordable. So go ahead and get set up on OpenGrants.io. Use the tool to go help you make your hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in terms of grants and contracts through OpenGrants.io. And then with that, I want to share with you guys something that we just launched. We're in alpha in this here. We just launched it on Monday. So I'm going to pull it up and share my screen quickly and share this here. We're going to do a quick giveaway with this as well. So, all right. So welcome to the GovCon community. So this is a brand new community that we just launched. Now, GCA, we've been around since 2010, and so this is going into 15 years as an organization supporting businesses in the government contracting marketplace and nonprofit as well as relates to grants. We are we're shifting away from the old, what we call traditional association membership model, and we're moving into what we call a community membership model to where think of this here as LinkedIn, a group on LinkedIn around government contracting, or a group on Facebook. So, but we're bringing the ecosystem into one place so that you can come in here and you can engage community members. You can engage other organizations in here, engage other people in here. So when you come into the community, first thing you're going to see a list of feed, just like Facebook, lots of different feed. Come and get started, introduce yourself. You can search other members, but there's a few things in here that I want to highlight quickly. What's in here so that it's meaningful for you when you're in here. So if you come in here, you can ask questions to the community, and the community will help You can ask or share thoughts and things you're learning in related to government contracting or grants in here as well. So for example, I click on the grants world. In here, we have a little poll. We have some grants. AARP is giving out $75,000 of grants. There is a accelerated program for consumer product goods. There is a accelerator that Target's putting out. There's a $25,000 grant for small businesses that Lenovo is putting out. And there's a lot of different resources. Comcast is giving out $5,000 to small businesses. So different resources in here that we find we feel like, okay, this may not necessarily be public anywhere else, but let's share it with the community. You can come and share your wins, your successes in here. We're also bringing in news. We're aggregating all the different things that's happening in the government contracting world into one place. So, for example, there's some big changes with contracting as it relates to micro purchases. The threshold is going to go from 10,000 to 15,000, and they're changing SAP requirement from 250,000 to 350,000. So, news, things happening. You can come in here and look at all the different news resources related to the GovCon and the grants world. And then you can come and post your jobs. You can come and there's a book club. We got Pillow Wars. But one really cool thing is this here. It's called Teaming Tuesday. Teaming Tuesday is where you can come and you can pitch what you're looking for. So we call it Pitch Day, but it's Teaming Tuesday. And so every Tuesday at 12 noon, starting later in January, we're going to have the Pitch Day. And you come, you say, my name is, you can come in here and you can actually go to one of the events and then come in here. You have 3 minutes to pitch. You share your name, your company name, your location, what you're looking for. So for example, if you're going after a grant, but you're a for-profit and you need a fiscal sponsor, a fiscal agent that's a nonprofit, and you're a for-profit, you need someone who's a nonprofit to go after a grant, you can come in here, you can say, my name is Abe, my company is GCA, we're located in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm looking for a nonprofit that can be a fiscal sponsor for this grant that we're interested in. And then you share a little bit about, you, and then say something that people will remember you by. So for me, I might say, I just started playing pickleball this year. If you want to learn to play pickleball, if you're looking for a partner to play pickleball, I'm your guy. And so the people remember you by outside of just work itself. And then you have 3 minutes to pitch this here. So, but you have to fill out a form to do this here. And only starting off, we only allow our members who are subscribers to the community to pitch. You can also pitch by just typing in what you're looking for. Industry events, we're bringing all of the government contracting grants industry events into one place. So you can come in here and just search all of the events, lots of different events. Some of them are free events, some of them are pay events, some of them are in person, some of them are live events, virtual events. So lots of fun stuff. Quick introduction to what we're doing here. We are in the alpha phase. And with that there, if you are interested, I'm going to share with you how you can get to be a part of this here for like 75% off. And this is for only a limited number of people. You can become a founding member. What does it mean to be a founding member? That just means you say, hey, you know what? I love this here. I want to be early. And you get a super, super special access to what we're doing here. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you come in here and then you can become, we're offering the silver benefits, which is normally $75, but we're going to make that available. We're going to give a coupon. In fact, Lainey, you want to put the coupon into the chat? And you can come in here and you can click get started, and then you can apply the coupon, and then you would get, because silver is $149 a month. Founding members is $75 a month, but you can get it for $37.50. So we're giving like a really 50% off of the early founding members. This is a one-time offer, only doing for all of our podcast members here who are joining us live here. So that is our giveaway, is a coupon to become part of the GovCon community and become a founding member there. So with that, Lena, I'm gonna turn it back to you, and then we'll have some closing comments from Sedale, and we'll wrap it up today's episode here.
Yes, thank everybody. Sorry. Thank everybody for joining. If y'all have any final questions for Sedale, please put them in the comments. If not, be sure to check out OpenGrants. I know we have a winner of it. Get your funding, your funding report. It's a free funding report. Go ahead and get that. See what it gives you for our nonprofits. And then next week, we're really excited. We're actually going to have another, next week, is just me and Abe. And we're talking about what the new Trump administration means for the funding landscape. It's going to be really interesting, a conversation of, what did we see? What are some trends we saw in 2 administrations ago? What did we see this last 4 years? And what can we expect to see in these next 4 years? I think it's going to be really good for anybody on the contracts and grant side, and kind of just seeing what some of those trends are and what we're expecting. So hopefully y'all will join us on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And keep in mind, it doesn't matter what your politics are, right? As the Grants and Contract podcast, your organization have to survive whether you hate the president or love the president, whether it's a Republican administration or a Democrat administration. We don't think red or blue here. We think green, right? Where are the opportunities in terms of green money for your organization, regardless of who's in office? And so leave politics, you can have your own personal preference, but your organization still have to survive in all climate, all political environment, all financial environment, whether it's COVID, you still have to survive, whether it is a crazy political climate, and whether you love it or hate it, you still have to survive as an organization. So we think green from our perspective, not even purple, right? And so with that said, join us next week so that we can talk about how the landscape can change and what you need to do to prepare for it. So with that, I'm going to give the last word to Sedale. Sedale, any final thoughts, any closing comments you want to leave with the audience here before we wrap up?
I guess my closing thought is, life is short. Do the thing, build your stuff. And just go do it. A lot of people spend too much time thinking about all these things, and I find that there's a lot of overthinking. So go get that contract. I will say that the other thing is, I do think, like I was saying earlier, the last real moat, I think, is community. So I was telling Abe when we were talking about this that I am just thrilled to see what y'all are building here, and a big fan of the community itself. So it's a good place to be, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all of you joining us live, thank you for joining us. If you're watching this as a replay, thank you for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us next week. We come every Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, to hang out with you, to talk about the wonderful world of grants and contract. And remember this one thought: you are one contract away from your dreams, your goals. You're one grant away from all the things you want to accomplish for your organization. With that, thank you for joining us, and we will see you another episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.